So you are listening to the Dave Sweetmore Show, and I think it's safe to say over the last couple of years, poetry and spoken word has certainly, I don't know if it's made a comeback or not, but it certainly is as fashionable, if not more, as it's ever been. And the man right at the front in Greater Manchester of the poetry and spoken word revival, if I can call it that, is Jack Horner, aka Leon the Pig Farmer, and it's an absolute pleasure to say he's joining me today on the show. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing really well, thank you very much, pal.
Cheers for joining us today. Now, you've got a new book coming out, your second book coming out,
Yep.
which is dead exciting. I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. But first of all, let's talk about you. A few years ago, you burst onto the scene doing your spoken word and poetry. Is that something you've always been interested in doing, or is it something that's come along in perhaps later life, if you like?
It started only about 3.5 years ago. 2019 March, I woke up in a police cell and I realised I was absolutely intoxicated, and then subsequent breakdown. I I'd had 5 years of toxic relationships, living, and a volatile life of binge drinking, and I needed to change my life around. So I went into a period of abstinence of alcohol, got on to see the doctor, medication, and they suggested walking. I live up near Saddleworth Moor, and I literally started writing and emptied my head, and I wrote it down on paper, and it became poetry, spoken word, bits of stories, call it what you will. And then 3 years ago, roughly last month, I started doing spoken word nights, and it went on from there. My mate invited me, who was a promoter, onto a stage, said, "Do I have a stage name?" And I said, "Leon the Pig Farmer," which is from a film, a good iconic film in the 90s, but also a name an ex-serviceman friend of mine used as a pseudonym when he was in the army. So no, I had no interest in poetry at school, no interest in my 20s, 30s, and it only came to me in my late 40s.
You could have took up, music, sport, anything, but why poetry? What made how you were feeling come out in that format?
I think I tried lots of sports, physical education. I was a PTI in the army. I'd played high-level sport in football and athletics. They'd done the job, as they say, with endorphins, but it needed a total new angle and a total new change of lifestyle. And walking and then writing, I found I just took to it like a duck to water, and the framework of creating lyrics and words I found was my perfect solution to sorting my mental health out.
Over the last few years, your name's everywhere. Whenever you look, you are at the forefront of spoken word and poetry, certainly in Greater Manchester.
Yeah, I think I hit the wave at the right time. I think it's always been around Manchester. I've not been Manchester, but from Yorkshire originally. I've been in this city now for 20 years, and there's some really great performers, lyricists and storytellers. There always has been. I don't even need to mention people like John Cooper Clarke, J.B. Barrington, and people like that have tread the poetry boards. But every lyricist you can look at, from Marquis Smith and all the great other people, Ian Brown, and other people that talk about stuff, and the other punk bands. But I think we're in a time where we're open to talk about our emotions, which I think a lot of poets have got baggage, but we're also in a very strange situation politically and globally that people have got a lot to say. And I think punks, especially punk and the underground of the music scene, is there's a surgence, and I think poetry comes along with that. When you get good punk movements, you get good spoken word movements, raising the head above the parapet and joining forces and then forming a unity. And I think that's where it's coming from. There's a lot of people with a lot to say, and especially in this city.
I think you make a good point there about, there's a lot going on and people are more open, people talk about things. I work with you on Mancunia TV, and it used to be MMTV, and 10 years ago I couldn't have imagined poets coming along and talking and perhaps being as outspoken as what you and other poets are now. Do you think it's because of the way the world is that all of a sudden it's cool to do poetry and spoken word?
I think so, yeah. I think it's all arts. There's a level of coolness or a level of acceptance of what you do, whether you be an artist and you put paint down, or it used to always be lads picking up guitars and wanting to form a band. I think there is a lot more going on there now in the world, where you can explore and you can express yourself in totally different ways, and it is a lot more accepted now. And like I said, I think that comes with punk and harsher and political movements that make it more cool, make it more accepted. I think the poetry scene did go a little bit too underground and a little bit too cliquey and niche, where there is people with literacy degrees and people have written very well published books that have honed and looked after the poetry scene, but spoken word, as I call what I do, I think we're a different genre and a beast. And we're more of a working class lad or lass with different things to say, and we're coming out and talking about it.
I was just going to say that. I mean, you look at poetry, and I think when I was a kid, it was something perhaps posh people did, whereas now kids off the street and working class people feel that poetry is a way of getting things out. And I think it's great what you're doing and people like yourself are doing, you know, to get it out there. Now, you're just about to release your second book. Your first book came out, what was it, about 3-4 months ago?
No, that was now 15 months ago. Talking Myself Out of Trouble came out.
Wow, was it that long?
Yeah, it was just as we came out of the first lockdown. It seems like only 3 or 4 months ago, but I released it in May 2020. It was a lockdown, 21, sorry. It was a lockdown project to keep me out of mischief, and it was a collection of my mental health first, which is why I called it Talking Myself Out of Trouble. But the second one, Don't Believe the Hype, is literally come along. I'd started this as I'd finished the last one, and like my first book, I collaborated with an artist. First one being a pen and pencil artist, sketcher. This one I'm doing with a friend of ours, Hels Millington.
Well, let's talk about that book, because, you know, your first book was well received. This new book you've got coming out, you know, there's a lot of hype about it. There's a lot of people talking about it and stuff. Tell us about the new book you're going to be bringing out and when it's available.
It's available now. It's come out on pre-sale, which I'm doing at last year's price because people are short of cash, and I don't want to make this about a money-making project. There will be money going to a charity. I have yet to decide which one it was. It was Emmaus for the first one, and it will be something around addiction, mental health, homelessness or isolation. So there will be a portion of money going to that. But with this one, I'm working with Hels Millington. It's called Don't Believe the Hype. I've got over the anger of hating myself, which is what the first mental health book's about. This one is about despising what goes on in politics, councils, gentrification, how bullying, social hatred, and how society is disenfranchised from other parts of the world. So it's got a political edge to it. And I chose the title Don't Believe the Hype because of the Public Enemy track in the 80s, because I do love rap, and I think that's a good outlet of spoken word as well. But it's the sequel, and it's literally about me being angry about things in the world and venting my frustration with what goes on.
I've watched you perform many times and listening to you now about what's in your book. I feel like it's a book that perhaps is, you know, getting stuff off your own chest, but it's something that perhaps people can relate to, and it will help them along the way as well. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, that's without a doubt. That's it. It's everything I perform and write about. It's things that offer me a level of frustration, anger, or stress or anxiety, and writing it down and getting it out there. And then letting people know my story. And my tilt on the world, people come up and go, yeah, you just talk about what's in our head, but we haven't got a way of putting it on paper and talking about it. And that's all I do in working class English. Just get it all out there. There's 30 poems, same as before, same format, 30 poems interspersed with art, in this time photography. It breaks it up and it makes it more accessible to other people. It's not something that is to be left on your bookshelf. It's a coffee table thing.
Listening to what you say, and I've seen you perform many times, I feel like what you do is very, you know, hard-hitting at times, but motivational as well. So I do advise everyone to get a copy of the book. It is available now. Don't Believe the Hype. Jack Horner, aka Leon the Pig Farmer, with the pictures from Hels Millington. Just remind us once again, where you can get a copy of this book from.
You can get it from the publisher site, lulu.com, if you want to go through them. You can get it on Amazon. Go on my website. I've got an email. Come on my social medias on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, and I'll send you a copy out. If you live in Greater Manchester and I'm driving past your house, I'll drop it off so I can save you postal charges, and it's 13 quid.
Just an all-round nice fella, aren't you?
I do it. It's like I just try to cut out the middleman. If we can do that and keep it DIY, I've done it loads of times. I always carry books around with people that live in Tameside, and if I'm passing your house and you want to save £5 rather than giving it to Royal Mail, I'll come and drop it off when I'm passing. I'm always gigging, I'm always busy, whether it's me or in my band The Dirt, so I'll always be passing, so I can drop one up through your house.
The book's available now, Don't Believe the Hype. You can find Jack Horner, aka Leon the Pig Farmer, on the social medias, and obviously as this goes out now, we're in the middle of August. What comes next for, you know, Jack Horner and Leon the Pig Farmer?
Well, we've put some tracks down as The Dirt, which is me and my wife doing psychedelic alternative punk music. That's an album on vinyl for 2023. For me now, it's about getting this book out. I've got an M62 tour, which was literally going to be 2 or 3 dates of just launching the book, and now I'm doing gigs in York. I've got talking to Accrington, Skipton, Leeds. I've got a gig in Huddersfield. I've got Buxton for next year. I've got Macclesfield booked. I've got Northwich booked in Liverpool, and there is a few more to come up. And I'm hopefully working on a juicy little closure one for the end of November. But then it's festivals. We're going to shine on together. Yeah. I've got stuff going on all over the place. Look on my socials. Come and find me. Come and say hello.
So there's absolutely no excuse to go and check him out. Jack Horner, Don't Believe the Hype, is available now. Leon the Pig Farmer can be found on the website and of course across social media as well. You're always at Mancunia TV as well. Yeah. Good luck with the book. Good luck. You don't need it, but good luck with everything that's coming up. And thank you for joining us today, Jack.